Now let's see the concept of average speed. Assume that a person is traveling from point A to point B at some speed, and from point B to point C, let's say at some speed, and from point C to point D at some speed. Right? Now we want to find out what the average speed is. One thing you should note here is average speed is not always the average of all the speeds, right? So which means you cannot write average speed is equal to S1 plus S2 plus S3 by 3. So this is not always true, right? So yes, this might be true under some conditions, but then this is not always true. So what is the formula you should use is, you should use the formula of the speed only. What is the total distance traveled divided by what is the total time taken. So average speed is always equal to total distance divided by total time taken, right? So what I mean to say is, this formula may or may not be true in some cases. Therefore, why to take this? This is the standard one. You can use this. This is how we derive the speed, isn't it? So now let's take the case in which we have 2 points there. So what is this? So in order to write this, you have to find out, let us say if this is the distance d1, if this is the distance d2, if this is the distance d3 covered, and the time taken to cover this one is t1, time taken to cover this one is t2, and time taken to cover this one is t3, then the total distance is d1 plus d2 plus d3 divided by t1 plus t2 plus t3, right? In case if distances and times are not given, then you are supposed to derive it. Sometimes what they say is, they might not give you the distance directly, but then they will give you parameters to derive it. And sometimes they might not give you time directly, and they might give you parameters to derive it, right? So let's see what happens if one of the parameter is missing and other two are given. Then in terms of those parameters, you are supposed to derive this, right? So let us assume that we know this speed equal to distance by time, right? Now instead of giving distances, then distance equal to speed into time. Instead of directly giving you distances, they might miss one of the parameters. Let us say they are saying that in one case, we shall take only 2 points here. So in one case, assume that distance is missing. So distance is not given, but then they have given you this. Here a man has traveled from A to B and then B to C. From A to B, he is traveling at a speed s1 and he has taken a time t1, right? And from B to C, he has traveled for a time at a speed s2 and he has taken a time t2. Then given these parameters, if d is not given, what is the average speed? So you cannot directly write s1 plus s2 by 2, right? So now average speed equal to total distance. So what is the total distance? Here some distance is covered and here some distance is covered. Now what is the distance here? It is s1 by t, isn't it? Sorry, s1 into t1. s1 into t1 is the distance covered from here to here, plus what is the total distance covered from here to here? s2 into t2. Now this is the total distance you get divided by total time. So what is the total time here? t1 plus t2. Got it? Therefore average speed in terms of speed and times is this, which means if d is missing, right? Similarly, they might miss some other parameter. Let us say s is missing, okay? And assume that they are saying that a person has traveled from A to B and then from B to C, and they are saying that the distance between A and B is d1 and the distance between B and C is d2, and say speed is not given but times are given, then you can directly solve it, right? So let us say the time taken for him to cover from A to B is t1 and for him to cover from B to C is t2, right? So in this case, if speed is not given, then how can you derive the average speed? Is average speed equal to total distance divided by total time. So all the parameters are there, d1 plus d2 divided by t1 plus t2, right? Okay, and now let us say time is not given, right? So see, now we have missed out distance in the first case, the parameter, and we have derived it using the other two parameters, and then in the second case we have missed out speed and we have given two other parameters, distance and time, and we have derived it, and in the third case we are missing out the time. If that is not given, then what happens? Now let us say he is saying that from A to B, B to C a person is traveling, and from here to here the distance is d1 and the speed at which he traveled is s1, and from here to here the distance is d2 and the speed at which he is traveling is s2. Then what is the average speed? In this case, average speed equal to d1 plus d2, which is total distance, divided by, we don't know the time. Now what is the time? Distance by speed, isn't it? Therefore d1 by s1 plus d2 by s2. Got it? See, time is distance by speed, so we got this one. So t1 plus t2. So this is how you are supposed to find out the average speed. Got it? So one thing you should always remember is average speed need not always be average of all speeds, and you are going to always use this formula. And sometimes they might also mix up, which means for this case they might give you these two, and for the next case they might give you some other parameters. Then what you should do is convert them to distances and times and then do this. Got it? Okay.
Hi, if you are planning to do masters, then doing masters abroad is better than doing masters in India. I'll give you all the reasons. So first reason is, out of 1 lakh students who take GATE every year, there are only 500 seats in old IITs. So all the IITs put together have an acceptance rate of 0.5%, and universities better than IITs, they have very good acceptance rate like 30%, 40%, but all the IITs put together have an acceptance rate of 0.5%. And if you are working hard to get into IIT Bombay's ranking is 177 and IIT Roorkey's ranking is 400. If you are happy to get into IIT Roorkey, then getting into universities better than IIT Roorkey is easier compared to getting into IIT Roorkey. And looking at the salaries for computer science, for software jobs, if you have done your masters in computer science in US, the salaries are ranging from 80 lakhs per year to 1.2 crore per year. So even if you take an average of 1 crore per year, your savings will be much higher than the salaries in India. After taxes and your cost of living, you can easily save 40 to 50 lakhs per year. And in India, the maximum jobs that you get is around 30 lakhs. So your savings will be much greater than the salaries in India. And these are all the services that we provide. University shortlisting. So depending on your profile, we will shortlist what are the universities that you have to apply, and statement of purpose building, and then LOR guidance, and GRE and English test assistance, and education loan assistance. So you don't have to have any collateral, which means without any security, now you can get education loan. Getting education loan is very simple these days, and whatever the amount of fee that you have a range of universities. You can apply for 10 lakh universities, 20 lakh universities, or 50 lakh universities. But whatever it is, you are going to get complete education loan, and you can pay off your education loan in 1 year after you get a job. And then we do visa assistance, mock visa interviews, and then connecting with the university alumni. So now you might ask why we should join Game of Visas. So the answer is we have 90% success rate, 99% success rate. And these are all the destinations that we guide the students to. So we guide students to any country that you want to go. So now it is not just USA. We guide to UK, Germany, Australia, Canada. So we guide students to all the countries. We work with all the destinations. And if you are interested in going abroad, you have to just drop us a message on this WhatsApp number 9494 555 454. Okay, thank you.